Hello there, you beautiful, beautiful soul. You welcome back. I'm Laura K. Walker, the creator and the founder of the Power of Easy. And we are back this week for week two of intuition. It's actually week four of Into Your Genius. Studying the amazing mental geniuses that you were given to navigate this life. And if last week was about understanding your intuition, this week is about actually living from it. So we know something very intellectual, right? We all know that. And that's all great. We need to know those intellectual things because knowing it intellectually, it's cute, it's great, it helps. But applying it, that's where your life is going to change. That's what today is all about. So let's anchor intuition where we left it off from last week. Your intuition is always speaking to you. It's calm, it's clear, it's not emotional, it's steady. It sounds like calm confidence. It doesn't explain itself, it simply points the way. So, I want to talk a little bit about your five senses versus your inner knowing, your intuition. This is where the rubber meets the road, and I think things are going to make sense for you here. So, let's deepen this. Your five senses are designed to interpret your physicalities, your world, your human being journey, your soul having a human journey. They tell you what's happening, what's visible. They also tell you what's already occurred by surveying the landscape. But your intuition is not based on what is, it's connected to what's possible. Okay. So if you only make decisions based on what you can currently see, hear, taste, smell, or touch, you're going to recreate your past over and over and over again. And you don't want that. You want to elevate. You want to lean in. You want to be the greatness you were created for. So your mind is choosing all the time. Here's something powerful to know. There is a part of your mind that either accepts or rejects information, meaning you don't just receive thoughts, you decide which ones to buy into, to believe. So think about this for just a moment. When an intuitive, inspired idea comes into you, what do you do with it? Do you accept it or do you immediately question it and deflect and delay and distract? Let me give you some examples. Maybe these line up for you today. You feel, should I reach out to that person? And then your brain jumps in. What if it's awkward? What if they don't respond? What if it's random? That's the moment. That's the decision point. So let's do a little shift here. Your power is in choosing. I'm going to trust this. I'm going to do the thing. So let's connect back to this imagination because these two faculties together, the imagination that we talked about in week one and two, and then intuition that we started last week in week three, they work in tandem together. So let's review it. You imagine what you would love, and your intuition guides you toward it. It's that simple. That's why we stay in our vision. That's why we read our vision statements. That's why we continue to work with a mentor or a transformational coach, such as myself. That's why we continue to invest in our journey to keep our faculties working in tandem in pure genius. So, your intuition guides you toward the vision. We keep visioning, we keep working. And I'm going to ask you right now to do just this. Go ahead and put your feet flat on the ground, your hands on your legs, no crossed arms, no crossed legs, and just close your eyes for a moment. Play full out on this with me. Bring back the vision that you've previously created. Now add a little more detail in your imaginary eye up here. Where are you exactly? What's the environment like? What are you doing? Who are you being? Get a good, clear image of that. And now ask yourself, What is one step that would move me closer to this? And then pause and listen. That's intuition in motion. You don't need the whole plan. That's your truth moment today. You don't need the whole plan. You just need the next step, and the breadcrumb trail of faith will lead you in the right direction. And better yet, you're going to get the end result you want even quicker. You will quantum leap into your vision, into your results when using intuition. So let's talk about something simple but very powerful. Silence. If your life is constant noise, your intuition gets drowned out. Your brain needs space to shift out of reactive thinking and into receptive awareness. That only happens when you slow down, when you pause, when you're breathing, when you dial in vertically, when you're not consuming, reacting, or forcing. Okay, let me give you a practical example to really ground this. Have you ever gotten your best ideas in the shower, or maybe while you're driving, or when you finally stop trying to figure something out, or to find your soulmate, or to lose weight, you don't do any more diets, and then things begin to happen? That's not random. That's what happens when your brain relaxes and your intuitive channels begin to open. I want to talk now about strengthening your intuition. Here's how you actually build this. You use it consistently. Whenever that voice, have you ever had this happen? You're walking out the door and something says, get your umbrella. You look outside, there's no clouds in the sky. You ask Alexa, she says it's not going to rain. But something says, get your umbrella, and you do it. And then, boom, it rains. I have this happen all the time, all the time. And I especially do it when the voice tells me to text someone or reach out to someone. It never ceases to amaze me. I have a great story I'm going to tell you in a minute, okay, about this. But today I want you, from the work that we're doing this week, to make a decision to give your intuition your absolute intentional full attention this week. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, daily, in the nudges and the hunches and the inspirations and the billboards and the whispers from lyrics and your music that you're listening to, from maybe a commercial on TV, okay? Not occasionally, daily. Pick two areas of your life, one personal and one professional. And now ask, what is the next step here? And listen. Then do something radical, really radical, that feels kind of scary and out of your comfort zone, and act on it. Even if it's a small step, even if it's a text or a phone call, even if it doesn't fully make sense, especially then, do it. Okay. So I have seen clients um, so many times. They'll say to me, I had this feeling to do something, but I ignored it. And later they realized that was exactly the right move. Truth, your intuition gets stronger the more you honor it. So I want you to trust yourself this week. Let's bring this home. Your intuition, it's not outside of you. It is not something that you need to go find. It's already within you. Are you willing to trust yourself? Not perfectly, not all at once, but just a little more than you did yesterday. You don't build confidence first. You build trust through action. I'd love to tell you a little story. I apologize, my allergies are acting up. A little story about a time that I trusted my intuition, and it paid off in spades. I was coming home. Well, I was coming through DFW Airport to LaGuardia in New York from Durango, Colorado. I'd just spent a month in Colorado. I'd put everything in storage and decided to travel the world for a year after my youngest of four graduated high school. This has been about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. And I had a very tight turnaround time to my connecting flight to New York. I hop off the plane, I go to the bathroom very quickly, I grab a tea at Starbucks, and I take the Skylink. If you've ever been to DFW International Airport, you know it's enormous. And I had to get from Terminal A to Terminal D, clear on the other side of the airport. That alone can take 20 to 30 minutes. However, I had to get there and I had to get there quickly because my flight was departing in about 45 minutes. So I took care of those two errands. I hopped on the Skylink and headed to Terminal D. As I got there, I I came down the escalator and I saw my gate at the very end on the left-hand side. So I began to move quickly and I get there and I see that we're boarding in about 5 to 6 minutes. So I had a little time. I looked around. It was packed out. You know how it gets right before boarding. Everybody's on the gate, right? And I began to scan and I see one seat and I sat down and I pulled my backpack off and reached into it and searched for my phone to check my text and my emails and no phone, no phone. I began to panic. I began to listen to the chaotic voice of my brain. Oh my gosh, get back on the Skylink, go to Terminal A. Oh my gosh, you left it in the bathroom. You must have left it at the Starbucks when you paid with your Apple Pay. My mind was going chaotic. So I sat there and I said, nope, I'm going to practice what I preach. I took a deep breath and out, in and out, in and out. And I calmed my nervous system, my sympathetic self, and got into my parasympathetic self. And I asked, what's my next best empowered action step to be the Laura who gets on this plane, this flight, with her phone in her hand? All of a sudden, I got a directive and it said, ask the blonde at the counter. It didn't say what to ask the blonde. It didn't say, wait and go back and then ask the blonde. No, it said, ask the blonde at the counter. Well, this sounded a little cockamamie. I didn't even know what I was going to say to the lady, but I know the voice enough. I trusted it. I walked up to the counter. I approached the blonde and I said, hi, ma'am. I have left my phone somewhere and I'm on this flight. I need to see about getting my phone. Do you have any ideas? And I mean, she looked at me like I was bad shit crazy. Her eyes were like, and she said, ma'am, that's not going to work. We're boarding this flight in 3 minutes and we're just going to have to put you on a later flight. And I said, I appreciate your sentiment. Can you borrow my believing for a minute? And what can we do to get my phone back? So I am the Laura that gets on this flight with her phone in her hand. I said it out loud. I bound it. And I saw her get a download. Her eyes kind of glazed over. And she said, let's call your phone. It seems like an obvious thing. I hadn't thought about that sitting down, but I had to ask the blonde at the counter to get that directive. Okay. So then she reaches to grab the phone on the counter and then she backs up. She goes, oh, I can't use that phone. She goes, here, let's call it from my cell phone. I go, beautiful. At this moment, I'm calm because I know this is about to work out for me. I believe 100%, well, probably 99.8%. So I give her my phone number. She calls and she immediately, the ringer goes off. I can hear it from our close proximity and a man answers. And he says, is this Laura? And she said, no. And she said, hold on. And she hands the phone to me. I had not told her my name. I just said, I'm going to be the Laura that gets on that plane, on that flight with my phone in my hand. So she hands me the phone and I said, hello, very calmly. And he said, is this Laura? I said, it is. I didn't ask him his name. I didn't waste time. I did. I asked him, I said, what is your name? He said, my name is Lewis. He said, do you have a connecting flight to New York, LaGuardia? I said, I do. He said, stay right where you are. I'll be right there with your phone. Click. Handed her back her phone. Her face is just aghast. She can't believe what's happened. And I said, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And I go, and my spot was still open. That marveled me too. I walked back and I sat back right in the crowded gate. My spot's still open. I sit down and I'm saying, I am going to be the Laura who gets on that flight with my phone in my hand. I am that Laura that gets on that flight with my phone in my hand. I watch the escalator. A minute goes by, they start boarding groups 1 through 3. Another minute goes by, they start boarding groups 3 through 5, 4 or 5, or whatever it is. And I'm going, all right. And then I see him. I see a man coming very quickly down the escalator, heading straight for my gate. He comes off the escalator, takes a hard left, and I see him. I know it's Lewis. My knower knows. So I hop up and I meet him halfway. And he said, Laura? And I said, yes. And I said, Lewis? And he said, yes. And I said, thank you so much for being my angel today. And I turned around and I boarded the plane, and I was the Laura who got on that flight with her phone in her hand. So that's the moral of the story. This week, I want you to pause more. I want you to listen, not hear. I want you to listen more, and I want you to trust even the crazy things. Talk to the blonde at the counter. And most importantly, act on what you hear, because your intuition is not here to sit quietly in the background. It is here to lead you to quantum leap your results. And the more that you follow it, the clearer it's going to be. I always wish you blessings, light, and love. It's a privilege and a journey to walk this walk with you. I hope that you are learning a lot, and I'll see you in our next session, week 5 next week. Blessings, light, and big love as always.